Hello everyone, this is Rick, and welcome to Astral Club. This is Astral Sleep School. Before we get into it, just want to mention Patreon. If you'd like to support this channel on Patreon, you can do so. When you join, you get advanced commercial-free episodes on Sunday, a library of downloaded episodes for your podcast app, and a Patreon email where we can talk back and forth. And if you're interested, there will be a link in the description. Next up, private lessons. Now that the holidays are over, I'm starting to have folks signing up for private lessons. If you're interested in a lesson to learn how to astral project, be more than glad to work with you. All you have to do is go to the description and you'll find an email there where you can request further information. Okay, Astral Sleep School. I had somebody recently ask me a question about Astral Sleep School, and I had another person asked me about the same topic. So that to me is kind of a key that maybe I should talk about it a little bit. Now, in the past, I have touched on the subject. I think it was generally in like a Q&A type of episode, so I didn't designate an entire podcast just to this topic. And this isn't going to be a long one. But I think it's interesting, and I think there's some folks who are interested. So let's talk about it. First of all, what is it? Well, Astral Sleep School is a school that occurs, while you're asleep. Generally, you won't remember what happened when you wake up and return to your body. You may have certain thoughts that you didn't know where they came from. Maybe thoughts bubble up from the subconscious. Occasionally, you might actually have a memory of being in a classroom and perhaps even a knowledge of what you were talking about. I'll talk about in a second how you can become part of Astral Sleep School in a second, but let me talk a little bit about history. There's some famous folks who I think were part of Astral Sleep School at one time or another. Aristotle, who is one of the most influential philosophers in history, he was a believer in hypnagogic napping. In other words, what he would do is he would nap to induce inspiration. So that's pretty far ahead for somebody who existed, let's see, around 2,300 years ago. Napoleon Bonaparte, who was the emperor of France in the early 19th century and one of the greatest military leaders of all time. He was a famous napper. He had a notoriously harsh schedule. He'd only sleep about 4 hours a night, but he'd compensate with frequent naps, which he said inspired his genius strategic movements. And it's interesting because that's kind of my schedule. I sleep maybe 3 or 4 hours a night tops, and then I compensate with some naps. It tends to work for me, and also it's beneficial to astral projecting, so it works for me. Another napper was Einstein. You may have heard of him. He would nap. And he'd said that when he woke up, he'd have new ideas and he would be focused throughout the day. Lastly, Nikola Tesla. Tesla said that he would take a nap and he would wake up with a new invention, a new idea that he hadn't thought of before. An idea to generate energy from air, a wide variety of other inventions, which he said came to him when he woke up from a nap. So, what is Astral Sleep School? Well, Astral Sleep School is something that is held on the astral plane, and the teachers try to impart information to the students who are part of the class. And I've told you in the past that I woke up in one particular astral sleep class, and this was in the mid-70s. So I was just a teenager, and the topic was the holographic universe. Now, people talk about the holographic universe today, but I can tell you in the mid-70s, nobody was talking about the holographic universe. Now, unfortunately, when I woke up within the class to full consciousness, I wanted to astral project, and the last thing I wanted to do was sit in a class about some holographic universe. What the heck is that? So I just kind of said goodbye to the teacher and smiled, and he kind of waved at me, and I took off and did my own thing. But I woke up in that class. I have since experienced other classes, but I've also gone to the sleep school and seen some of the classes and some of the topics that were discussed. And I'll mention a few of them here. One was leading spiritual enlightenment. Another one was efficient fusion energy. One was zero gravity propulsion. That sounds pretty interesting. Another one was the neutralization of particle radiation. That sounds pretty interesting too, although it's way over my head. Interspecies relations. That was of interest. And conscious astral projection. Now, that one I think I was probably the most interested in, but I don't know that I really needed that particular instruction. All the other ones, yes, but not so much that one. So these classes are going on, and the idea is to get this information to sink into people's minds such that some of them will actually return to Earth and be able to use this information, like some of those historical figures that I just named for you. Now, this is something that these teachers devote themselves to, and it's got to be frustrating because you have to know, probably like most high school teachers today, you have to know that most of the students are sleeping and they won't remember a darn word you say. And all you can hope is that some of it sinks in somewhere where it can do some good. So how do you become a class member in an astral sleep class? Well, the best way you can do it, assuming that you qualify, and that's an unknown quantity, that's not up to me to decide, that's up to others to decide, is as you're going to sleep, will yourself to go to an astral classroom. Request from your guide admission to an astral sleep class. And do that every night. I can guarantee that if you are qualified, if you are truly ready, you will find yourself in a classroom. You may wake up with vague memories of being in the classroom. Maybe you'll be lucky enough to have a good recall. Especially if you're someone who consciously astral projects, you probably would have a better chance of bringing back that memory. But that's the best way I know to get yourself into an astral sleep school. So that would be my advice. Understand that it will cost you a little bit of energy. If you attend these classes, you may be a little tired, or more so than you were typically in the morning. But hey, you know, no pain, no gain, right? Nothing comes for free. You got to pay to play. So anyway, that's pretty much what I know about the astral sleep classes. And that's my advice if you want to become part of that class. So there you go. If you appreciated that podcast, please hit the like button, share it with those of like minds, subscribe if you haven't already, and questions and comments. Have you ever been in a sleep class? Are any of those topics I mentioned of interest to you? Let me know. Let me know what you think would be interesting. Let me know if you've ever awakened and possibly had some memories of being in such a class. And of course, any questions that I can answer, be more than glad to help you with. At any rate, this is Rick, and I will see you on the astral plane.